Hi, this is Randy Finney with the right side of the chart, and today is Monday, February 5th, 2018. Let's take a quick look at the equity markets, see where we're at, and most importantly, where we're likely headed. Here's the 60-minute chart of the Nasdaq Futures I've been covering so far. More downside. I expected a little more downside today at the open. When we got that, we bounced, but we're continuing down. So we're following through to last week's selling so far. Another impulsive down day. The Nasdaq 100 took out the support zone. You can see here it consolidated around it and actually gave us a bounce this morning, but then we broke support. And I'm referring to the two blue lines here, these two levels. Now we do have, however, what I've been looking for, and I like to see in order to go long for a trend reversal, and that is, well, we'll have to call it potential divergence at this point. Potential because the MACD, the PPO, these momentum indicators are still pointing lower, but as you can see here, as I underline them, we have at this point in time at least on the MACD, high or low. This is the RSI down here, about equal lows. So if we can reverse soon, this looks like a selling climax. I think we get a nice pop and we can rally back up to, obviously this would be the next resistance level if you're trying to game a bounce trade. In a minute here, we'll take a look at the daily charts because there is still a little more downside there to those trend lines I covered recently. So let's just take a look at the S&P 500 before we do that on the 60-minute time frame. Okay, there we go. Oh, sorry, I had it on there. Okay, that was the S&P 500 here. The first one I covered was the Nasdaq 100, and here's that support zone. We had a consolidation zone here. So far, we've moved through that pretty impulsively. There is divergence here on the RSI, potential divergence, not here on the MACD. As I said, my preference would be to use a PPO. I've been using these white clean charts from investing.com recently because they show a little better. When I'm charting futures myself, I'm using the ones from Interactive Brokers. That's the account that I trade futures in. But those are, well, actually, we'll take a look at one of those real quick here, natural gas. But I wanted to point out so far, that's what I'm looking at is some potential divergence if we get a reversal. But let's look at the more important daily time frames. That's what I said we would do, um, going forward. This is the SPY. I covered this again last night in last night's video. Here's that primary uptrend line comes off the early 2016 lows, and we're there now. So as I said, this was my before all said and done target before we got a decent bounce. I was looking for maybe a small bounce today, uh, quick tradable bounce. But here's where I think we can. I think it's safe to say it's a good time to cover the shorts right now and go long for a bounce trade, even a swing trade that can last. Um, more than just a few days, maybe a couple weeks here, possibly. Again, we'll have to see how the charts develop. I mentioned that before. I want to see how the charts develop this week. Let's not forget we are coming off extreme overbought conditions. So that this is what happens. This is what happens when you have a one-sided trade. Everybody wants to be long, and you get a melt up type move in the market. So that's been a race so far, and as expected, they've now faded the entire what I call New Year rally, the rally that kicked off at the beginning of the year. But there it is. We're at support. This is about as good a time as I've seen in a while to buy the dip if you're a swing trader, whether we're going to new highs or whether we're just going to retrace part of this move. So that's SPY again on trendline support. Not much else to be said there. Um, Daily chart here. QQQ has a way to go. The trend line on QQQ is not as well defined because we had it pierced here. It was taken out, but here's another one that I have. A little bit what this one's a little better defined. You can see I captured all the reaction lows, and we reversed just a hair above it so far today. But again, close enough. So if you look at it this way, longer term, I think that this trend line does get taken out. I have a high degree of confidence this will be taken out in 2018, but I mentioned starting to close short positions on Friday, starting to add some long exposure in the trading room today. I mentioned doing more of that, and now I'm boom at this point. I'm pretty much all my shorts are closed out, and with maybe one or two exceptions of some longer term positions, but I'm by far net long as of now for those reasons. So I see very little downside before a decent bounce. There it is. So there's your SPY QQQ. No reason to even look at the Dow. These two alone should tell us where we're going. Um, I'm not sure if I should get into. I'll do that for you guys. I know there's always a lot of interest in gold and everything else. Gold, of course, as I mentioned, will get a flight to safety bid when there's a sharp sell-off in the markets, regardless of what the dollar is doing. It's a flight to safety instrument. And so gold's really gone nowhere. Today it's up slightly, up 0.43%. Again, these are gold futures on a 60-minute chart. Crude starting to, or continuing to move lower. But as I mentioned today, in the on the site, we had the XLE short. Let's take a look at that XLE daily chart, and we hit this trend line here, and as well as this 769 key support level. Now we've shot through it. There we go. That candlestick just populated. But I suspect that we're going to snap back and close back above this today, or most certainly by the end of the week. That's my strong expectation. If you look at the 60-minute chart, this was the trade idea recently closed on. I had a previous chart. I closed this one a little early today, not wanting to try to catch the lows, but we did go on to hit my target here. I had this target zone, and I set the target. The final target on the trade originally was 70.64. T3 revised was somewhere up here. And again, I expect the same thing to happen. I think this is a momentum fueled overshoot. You guys have heard me use that term very often, meaning when you have a lot of downside momentum or velocity like this, uh, it isn't only common, or it isn't only uncommon. It's actually almost to be expected that you overshoot the support level that you're going to. So in other words, this was the target on XLE, final target, and I showed you it on the daily chart. So with such a rapid move down, that momentum, it would have surprised me to see this turn on a dime with the way we finally melted down as we started to get there today. So in other words, that's a momentum fueled overshoot. Anything can happen. Technically, this former support now becomes resistance, but you can see this candle already forming, and I'm putting good odds that we close the day on or near this level. So I'm going to keep it short. Tell you guys that again, if you're uber bullish, looking for the market to go to new highs, this is about the best dip buying opportunity I've seen in a long time. And even if you're bearish, it's one of the best times I've seen. If you were able to short the trend line breaks, short XLE, a lot of the other things that we shorted recently, great time to cover. Is the possibility for a meltdown in the market, beyond what we've seen, is that possible? Yes, but from my experience, those meltdowns usually come after there's a warning shot across the bow. Let's call this the warning shot. So either way, I'm looking for a bounce now that can last, and this is just XLE. Days, if not, like I said in last night's video, throughout this week at least. Let's keep it short and sweet and leave it there. If we go much lower, if we take out today's lows, as I'm talking now, we've started to reverse on the 1 minute charts here. I'll show you real quick before I wrap up the video. Here's QQQ. Let's go to a 1 minute chart, show you what I'm talking about. Zoom in, you can see some reversal already taking some reversal candles already taking place today. There's a bullish engulfing SPY 1 minute chart. There it is. Sorry, guys. There was something going on. These charts weren't loading properly. So there's the reversal, as I said, as I started this video. We started the reversal. So that's it. QQQ is still not populating. There should be more of a reversal here. Something's going on with these charts. Not sure, but here, I'll show it to you in another one. There, for whatever reason, TC2000 was having problems. Those are the black charts. So here's the Nasdaq futures, and you can see just in the last few minutes as I've been talking here, we've already started to bounce off those levels and regain the levels that we overshot. So that's it. I'll try to give you price targets and things like that. And again, I held off on the trade ideas because the majority of what I have seen recently were good short trade setups, but I didn't want to add those on with this market getting so close to a level where I think we're going to mount at least a decent bounce. Um, and again, bounces and as well as corrections can occur in time and or price. So far, this one that we had, when we look back at the daily chart, let's look again at QQQ daily chart. This was a correction in time. I'm sorry, I meant to say in price more so in time. You can see just only took a few days for the market to correct or the Qs to correct about 7.5%. That could have happened, over weeks or months, but as so often is the case, and as I say, that's one reason I love shorting stocks. They tend to fall a lot faster than they rise. But now on a bounce back, who knows? We'll see. And again, we have to hold these levels. Anything is possible. So if you see a daily close, and as I say, I like to look at all the major indices. I showed you the SPY a minute ago, right on its uptrend line support. Here's QQQ a hair above it. If you see them, both of these major large cap indices take out these trend lines, especially very impulsively. We don't see a reversal throughout the day. We close below those, then that has the potential to be a longer term sell signal. But I'm going to give it a little bit of a margin error. I wouldn't even, reverse and go back short again if we broke these intraday, even if we closed a little bit below today. Um, so as of now, I'm sitting tight, position net long, and I'll try to give you guys some bounce targets if you're interested. And again, I'll have to study the charts, and I also want to look at the individual stocks and sectors that stand out, and then put those on as official trade ideas. I did add one official trade idea on the site today, but I need to follow up with some more now that we've had quite a few closed out. This has been Randy Finney with the right side of the chart. Hope you enjoyed it.